our piece on our health and our wellness. We got our spiritual money right. Now we need to get our health and our wellness right. It is a pleasure for me to introduce the next speaker. And listen, he is, again, Dr. Fred. Listen, he is going to bring us a good word. He pledged at Norfolk State University. Let me get that right. The Norfolk State University. Spring 86, I was his ADP. It's one of my grandsons. Dr. Fred Thomas basically went to Eastern Virginia Medical School. He completed his residency in internal medicine in East Carolina. He was the head and the lead chief of internal medicine for McDonald Army Community Hospital, which is now Health Center from 2001 to 2005. He's a staff physician at Hampton Family Medicine from 2006 to present. He is born and raised here in Richmond, from Northside. He went to John Marshall? Marshall Walker. So I want the young folks to know, listen, Northside, Richmond, Norfolk State Med School, chief medical person. Now he's a physician getting it done. So if he can do it, so can you. Round of applause. I'll introduce my grandson, Dr. Fred Nick Thomas. Appreciate that. All right. All praises. Greetings, Pastor White, members of 3C, distinguished gentlemen. I know there's some mentees out there. Greetings, everybody. Good to see you. Good to be here. Let me tell you something about my family. I'm the third. My father was junior. He also went to Norfolk State, native of New York, and he passed away a year ago. This is the second Father's Day without him, so I always have to give him a little bit of thought whenever I'm standing in front of somebody, so that's what I'm doing. I'm a family man, happily married for 26 years, a strong, supportive woman. We have 3 good kids. My son is a rising senior in law school right now. My daughter is going to be starting law school in the fall. And my youngest daughter got drafted by the Lakers. Let me explain. She earned a scholarship to do an internship with the Lakers in their business department this year. She's a sophomore in college right now. So we have good kids and all come from humble beginnings. And it's possible. Anybody can do. I firmly believe that anything is possible, okay? Now, the words I'm going to say from this point forward, I want you to understand I'm saying this with love and respect, okay? In this country, the United States of America, black men die earlier and at a younger age. I have to say it. We have to recognize a problem before we can fix a problem. I think there's a study in the CDC that said that our average lifespan is about 69 years, and that actually is falling, believe it or not. And that is the lowest among all major demographic groups in this country, okay? We got to solve this problem. I don't mean to be morbid, but I think we need to hear some things today about this. I'm on the front line in primary care medicine, over 20 years of experience, and I see this all the time. It's a problem that I think we can fix if we understand that it's a problem and have some tools and how we can deal with it. I guess I don't need that water. The top 5 reasons that we die, I'm talking specifically about us now: heart disease, cancers, unintentional injuries, homicide is on the list of top 5 things, and of course, stroke. Thing that heart disease and stroke have in common is that they're directly linked to high blood pressure, a thing that disproportionately affects us. Would you believe that 57% of black men in America have hypertension? Walking around with it, no symptoms. A lot of us don't even know we have it, okay? To break this down into age groups, between the years of 15 and 24, our boys are dying from homicides, accidents, and suicide. We have to recognize that. Between the ages of 25 and 44, our men are dying from homicides, unintentional injuries, heart disease, and yes, HIV/AIDS is still there. From 45 to 64, it becomes heart disease, colon cancer, lung cancer,
and prostate cancer. And over the age of 65, it's heart disease, cancers, stroke, and kidney disease. So this is what we're facing. So now we got to figure out what the solution is to this problem. Spent a lot of time thinking about this. There's been not much data about this, the why. I'm not sure why nobody wants to know about that, but I'm interested in that, the why this happens to us. Some of it is based on our culture, culture of masculinity, culture of being strong, not asking for help. I'm going to carry that stress. I'm going to hold on to that stress. I'm telling you, it doesn't serve us well. There's something about stress. When we're stressed and keeping it bottled up, there's a hormone that our body produces. It's called cortisol, also known as cortisone. I'm sure most of you have heard of that. Among many things that cortisone can do is that it can cause constriction or tightening of blood vessels. That leads directly to hypertension. So with all this stress and tension we're holding, it's no wonder why we have more hypertension than any other demographic in this country. And there's a straight line between that, heart disease, and stroke. You see the picture. So how do we solve this problem? There's also a distrust in the medical field. That's definitely recognized. Some of it rightly so. Some of it is. Everyone's probably heard about the Tuskegee experiment. That's not lost on even new generations. We have to somehow, in our minds and mentally, get past that to get the help that we need, because it is for us. And if we're doing it for us, we're doing it for our families. The best ability, as you know, is availability. We have to be here. So, what is the solution to this problem? Well, as a primary care doctor, I'm going to tell you, you need to establish with a primary care doctor. You really do. Primary care providers can be internal medicine doctors like me. They can be family medicine doctors. They can be nurse practitioners or physician's assistants, okay? It's nice if they look like you, but odds are they won't look like you. If you look at the stats in this country, about 5% of all primary care doctors are black men. So we just have to understand that, face that, and get the help we need, even if it's outside of us. What does a primary care doctor do? We're predominantly focused on prevention and treatment and screening. If we're doing that, we're reducing some of those risks of death and dying that I talked about earlier. You can think of the primary care doctor as the quarterback of your healthcare team, okay? They provide preventive services. They can diagnose and treat common medical conditions. They can coordinate care, if you need nursing home, if you need home health, things like that, or if you need a referral to see a specialist. This is all done through your primary care doctor. Now, let's talk about a few things that disproportionately affect us. I mentioned hypertension at the beginning. Who knows in here what hypertension actually is? Anyone? Let's talk about it. Hypertension is literally high pressure in the arteries in your body. It is a mechanical problem. The arteries that carry blood throughout your entire system and hits every major organ in your body. The pressure is generated by the beating of your heart. If you ever had your blood pressure taken, you've noticed that they're giving you two different numbers. A top number, we call that the systolic pressure, and the bottom number, we call that the diastolic pressure. That top number is generated when your heart is beating and pushing blood forward through the system. That's why it's a higher number. The bottom number is that pressure in your arteries when your heart is relaxing again and refilling with blood. That's why it's a lower number. And a good blood pressure reading may sound like 115 over 60. Systolic 115, diastolic 60, just as an example. Now, hypertension has levels. In primary care, we recognize a few different things. We recognize a condition of elevated blood pressure. This isn't at the stage of hypertension yet. It's just elevated blood pressure, okay? What that is a blood pressure of 120 to 129 systolic and 70 to 79 diastolic. Now, that doesn't sound like a big number, does it? In fact, 10 years ago, that would have been considered normal blood pressure. The standards have changed, okay? Stage 1 hypertension starts with a systolic pressure of 130 to 139. That's actually stage 1 hypertension, with the diastolic pressure being 80 to 89. Now, either one of those can put you in the range. If your top number is elevated, you have predominantly systolic hypertension. If it's your bottom number, you have predominantly diastolic hypertension. It could be both or either or, okay? The importance about stage 1 and just elevated pressure is that we can treat this without medications. I know how we feel about medications. I'm an internal medicine doctor. I don't like medications. Sometimes they're necessary. If we can get people in early and get them screened, maybe we don't need medications. So I'm not talking about insurance or insurance companies. They have another goal in mind, not necessarily my goal. My goal is to treat people with the most prudent treatment that doesn't require a lot of medications early. Early is critical. Early is critical. Stage 2 hypertension starts at 140 over 90 or greater. This is important because stage 2 actually requires medication. If you walk in with that level of blood pressure, and again, you won't even know it. There's no symptoms associated with this. That's why they call hypertension the silent killer. This requires medications. Now, hypertension can also be an emergency. If your blood pressure is greater than 180, or the bottom number or diastolic pressure greater than 120, that is an emergency if you're also having symptoms with that. Chest pain, headaches, lightheaded, dizzy, shortness of breath. That's actually a medical emergency and needs to be going to the emergency room. Now, these are different phases of the same problem, and they have different ways of managing them, but you can clearly see that if we can catch it early is key here, we can manage this without medications. That's really what the goal is, okay? Now, how do you manage blood pressure without medications? Well, you need a low-sodium diet. Now, that's not just a salt shaker. In fact, that probably makes up about 10% of the sodium your body receives. Sodium happens to be a really good preservative. And so a lot of food manufacturers will have sodium in their products to extend the shelf life of their products that we consume. If you consider things like deli meat, and I'm going to hurt somebody's feelings right now. Deli meat, beef, pork, of course, chips, crackers, pretzels, things like that, sodas, beer, these fast foods. Even if you don't add salt to the fries you get at that place, it's already in it, trust me. So that's how we get sodium in our body. So if we reduce that significantly or eliminate it completely, we can actually treat hypertension. You add to that regular exercise. The American Heart Association describes regular exercise as 3 days a week minimum of 30 to 60 minutes of continuous aerobic activity. Continuous aerobic activity. Not included with work unless you're a professional athlete, because you need continuous aerobic activity for 30 minutes to 60 minutes to meet this criteria. If you do that, there's a real chance we can get some cure and prevention. And that's hypertension in a nutshell, okay? Another thing that's predominantly problematic for us is prostate disease. Who knows where your prostate is? Okay, all right, okay. Okay. For those of you who are not familiar with this, the prostate gland is a part of your reproductive system. It secretes an enzyme that helps with your sperm motility. Most of your seminal fluid is made up of prostate fluid. So it has a purpose early in life. As we get older and age, we don't need it as much anymore, so it has a couple things that it does to us. It can get bigger, it can become inflamed or infected, or, and this is a big concern, it can become cancerous, okay? And so the way we screen for prostate disorders is a couple things we do. We start at the age of 40. We would do that earlier if you had a family history of prostate disease in someone in their 40s. Two things we do. We do a blood test called the PSA, which stands for prostate-specific antigen, and you should definitely know your number. A normal prostate or PSA is between 0 and 4, okay? And the absolute number is important, but the change in that number is even more important. For instance, if you have a PSA of 2, which is clearly inside the normal range, but next year it becomes 3, that's a pretty big rise in 1 year. So that's kind of concerning. So that'll alert your primary care doctor. Let's look a little further here. Again, it's a normal PSA, but it's risen, or there's a rise in it that's more than you would expect in a short period of time. Okay? The other thing we do is actually a digital rectal exam, because where the prostate is located, it's easily accessible through that cavity. We can tell if it's in... With all due respect. I started this talk with love and all due respect. Yeah, it doesn't hurt me at all. You're right. But you can tell if it's enlarged. Oh, I'm sorry. There's a question. Okay. Yeah. So it's part of your reproductive system. So when you get beyond your reproductive years, your prostate doesn't do anything for you anymore. That's what that means. For some of us, it's longer than others. But yeah, that's what I mean by that. No. That's a different thing altogether. See, the prostate gland helps you with your sperm mobility. So you become very fertile if your prostate is doing what it's supposed to do. And so after a certain point, like in my age, I'm not having kids anymore. My prostate isn't doing that anymore. So that's what I mean by that. A vasectomy is a specific procedure you get done so that you can not have babies anymore for sterilization. They do a snip on either side, cut the tubes that transport the sperm, and then, you can't have babies. But that is reversible, FYI. I wouldn't use that terminology, but... I wouldn't necessarily use that terminology, but something similar. Neutered is a little bit more aggressive. And we don't get neutered. We have guys walking around here docile. That's not good. The other thing is colorectal screening. Colorectal screening. And I'm hitting these key areas because these are things that affect us most and cause us to die earlier and have lots of disease. That's why I'm hitting these things in particular. So the last one is a colorectal screen. So colon cancer is prominent in our community, and we die. Usually it's after the age of 65 that it really hits us, but we're starting to see a trend of people developing this earlier. Screening starts at the age of 45 for all people, male and females alike. The primary way to screen for colon cancer is with something called a colonoscopy. How many of people have had your colonoscopy who are due for one? I commend all of you. So you guys know what it's all about. There's a bowel prep that you have to go through before you get it done. They want you to change your diet a few days before that, drinking clear liquids. They give you something to drink to empty your colon out the night before and the morning of. You have to have somebody drive you to the procedure because they're going to give you they should give you something to sedate you to some degree. I'm sure they did that for you, right, Pastor? Good. And you go to sleep, and you wake up, and it's over. Okay. Now, I say all this to say that primary care matters. It really matters. Early detection equals better outcomes. Catching things early, like hypertension and diabetes, can lead to prevention and even cure. Primary care doctor gives you personalized health care. They know your history. They are on top of all of your screening measures. And this is the way to have good health. And this is what I'm advocating for. I'm going to give you 2 different case studies here just to give you an idea to highlight the importance of primary care. And I won't use any names in these studies. The first person, we'll call them Patient X. Patient X is a 50-year-old guy, average man. He's a black man. He does not have a primary care doctor. He showed up in an ER with swelling in his legs, feet up to his knees, significant swelling. And he had shortness of breath with this. Upon further questioning, he's been having some weight gain over the past 6 to 12 months even. So he went to the ER. In ER, they evaluated him. His blood pressure was 200 over 120. Does anybody know what this is based on what I've talked about so far? This is a hypertensive emergency, exactly. And so they connected him to the heart monitor. They gave him an IV to give some blood pressure medicines through the IV because you needed it at that point. They did his blood work, and this man had end-stage kidney disease. You can detect that on blood work. So here we are, a 50-year-old man who doesn't have a primary care doctor, doesn't get checked, and goes in only because he's sick. And he turns out he's got hypertensive emergency, and he's got end-stage kidney disease. Now, with end-stage kidney disease, there's no debate about this. You have to get emergency dialysis. Dialysis is a treatment to treat people whose kidneys don't work for them. They literally connect a big IV in your artery or your vein, and they circulate your blood out of your body into a machine that cleans your blood and then back into your body again. This whole process takes 2 to 4 hours. Now, this gentleman is going to need dialysis for the rest of his life. He has 3 new blood pressure medications, cholesterol medications, and the most heartbreaking thing about this story is that it was preventable. It was preventable. Now, that brings me to patient Y, case study number 2 here. This is a 40-year-old black male. He goes to his primary care doctor's office for a routine checkup. His blood pressure happens to be 132 over 80. Does anybody know what that is? That's actually stage 1 hypertension, believe it or not. That's stage 1 hypertension. Not having any symptoms. His blood work is completely normal. So in this case, his doctor recommended a low-sodium diet, regular exercise, which he followed. A month later, his blood pressure is well inside the normal range. He's exercising, he's eating better. This is a success story. This is the importance of primary care. This is what we're trying to do, okay? So I'm going to give you some final thoughts here, gentlemen. First, this is Happy Men's Health Month, so I wish you a happy Men's Health Month every June. Remember, your health is your responsibility and it's your right, okay? Don't wait until you're severely ill or in crisis to get seen by a doctor. Having a regular doctor, getting regular checkups can add years to your life and actually life to your years. Call of action, final call of action. Find a PCP if you don't already have one. Schedule an annual checkup, even if you're feeling good. Talk to other men about health. Encourage each other to take care of your health. Make this normal. Normalize getting help, okay? That's all I got for my primary talk, but I'm willing to answer questions. Absolutely.
Okay, so I went to see my primary care physician just before COVID,
Commend you for having one.
and I got COVID during COVID.
Okay.
Right, so went back to see him during COVID, and then I hadn't been back, right, in 4 years or so, right.
Right.
So I called to schedule an appointment, and my doctor's office says that because I hadn't been in the 3-year, 4-year, whatever the time frame was, that I was now considered a new patient. Okay, cool, right, no problem. But we're not taking new patients, right? So that's my statement. Now here's my question, right? So first and foremost, is your office taking new patients? Number two, if not, maybe some recommendations on where we go.
Now, although I'm a native of Richmond, I've been living in the Hampton Roads area for over 30 years. As my office is in Hampton, Virginia. The answer is I am taking new patients, but my office is in Hampton, Virginia. They do. I'll have to get back with you on resources here in the area because, like I said, 5% of all primary care doctors are black men. It's kind of hard to find us out here, but you don't have to have a black doctor. I don't want to say that because you need to get health. That's really the most important thing here, okay? And if you go to your doctor, whether you like them or not, make sure to do your routine labs, a comprehensive lab test, and a physical. If you're doing those and getting that done periodically, we'll catch things early. Okay? Appreciate the question. Okay? Okay, good question. So, blood pressure. If the blood pressure, you want your blood pressure to be less than 120 and less than 70. Top number less than 120, bottom number less than 70. If it's in that 120s range, we call that elevated pressure without hypertension yet, but elevated pressure. Yeah. It depends on how low it is. How low is the top number? 90, if your normal pressure is in the 120s and all of a sudden you're 90, that's a concern. You should go get seen for that. That's something should be done about that. Some people walk around with normal pressures in the 90s, though. That's normal for them. So it's all relative, which brings back to if you have a primary care doctor, they understand you and your physiology. No, that's normal for him. That's okay. No, for him, that's not normal. That's kind of what it is, because everybody's different genetically, biochemically, and that. And so there's going to be some variation in that. But the issue would be if it's dropped versus that's where it's always at. Okay? All right. Yes, sir. I like the way you said that. Let me correct you just a little bit. I think what you're saying is actually, no. What you're saying is right. But the correction is some of those pills. Yes, do that. Not all of them. Now, I'm not prescribing my black male patients a beta blocker for blood pressure because that's going to make them weak in many ways. We don't like that. I might prescribe some amlodipine, some valsartan, something in the two different classes of a calcium channel blocker or an ACE inhibitor, keeping that in mind. So we prescribe medicines based on the person's situation. The medicine's got to be appropriate for them. And if they're having any side effects, we stop it and try another one. While we're always working on reducing sodium in your diet and exercising. There's no substitute for that part. Yep. That's a good point. Water. 2 liters of water a day for most people. If you're young and athletic, maybe 3 liters of water you're going to need a day. This is a quarter of a liter. 4 of those get you a liter. And so 8 of these a day. So the big ones, half a liter. So yeah, water is important. Yes, sir. They're for everybody except the pediatric population. For adults, those numbers are standard. Yes. Good question. Yeah, so stage 1 and stage 2, that's the highest stage. But the answer is yes. You can go from stage 2 to stage 1 if you're eating right, taking the medications. And honestly, we're eating ourselves into hypertension, man. It's a fact. It's a fact. Yep. I don't want to, is anybody videotape me right? Well, I can't be, I'm not going to be too. I got to stay right. I got to stay right. I got to stay right. Go ahead. No, I'm telling you the truth, but, I got to protect myself here a little bit. That's all. Social media is crazy. Go ahead.
My blood pressure, when I do it, it goes directly to my health care, but it varies. Sometimes it's 98, 90, and then it goes, I might have 6 days where it's in the hundreds.
Okay, so yours is a complicated scenario, I can just tell. You take more than 1 medicine for blood pressure, 2 medicines, 3 medicines? How many medicines do you take for your blood pressure? Right. Do you take anything for your heart? Yes, sir. Yeah. I can tell there's a lot of stuff going on with you. So for you, that's probably normal for you. Yeah. Everybody's individual. That's why it's important for your doctor to know who you are and what's going on with you. Yes, sir.
It doesn't affect me. I don't feel any different
Right.
when it's in the 90s.
Yeah. So you would be a special case where, if you have some medical conditions that warrant certain medications and you've already had some events in your life, then your blood pressure will have to be controlled a different way. Exactly right. Okay? Yeah. Okay. Wow, yeah. Big number. Okay. Okay. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. Mm-hmm. And what difference are you seeing in how you feel or what your numbers are looking like? Okay, all right. So the hemoglobin A1C is a blood test we use to manage and track diabetes. It gives you an average of what your blood sugar is over a 90-day stretch, this test. So it's very useful, and we use that as a gold standard to manage diabetes. We want that number to be less than 7. If it's less than 7, your risk of having complications from diabetes goes down. When it comes to treating primary issues in medicine, the reason we treat is to prevent the complications. That's the whole point. If there were no complications with diabetes, we wouldn't be this concerned about it. Now, being on insulin, and you're on insulin and some pills too? Yeah. Okay, all right. Yep. Okay. Yep. So an A1C of greater than 15 is a huge number. And people who have that number and that range are at more risk for developing kidney disease, heart disease, strokes, and things like that. And the way I look at it is, again, and although medicines aren't the first thing you want to give a person, there's some situations you can't help it. You got to give medicines. But we have to weigh the risk and the benefit. What's the risk of the disease we're trying to treat? What's the risk of this medication? Which is worse? Now, the medicines you're getting for your diabetes will not cause you to have kidney failure, heart attacks, strokes, circulation problems leading to amputations of feet. The medicines won't do that. But diabetes unchecked will do that. So I wouldn't just stop the medications. You can add the burdock root. You can do that. And let your doctor supervise you with this, okay? So this is a loaded question, see? So you're at a 7.6 now? Over what period of time? That's incredible. I gotta say that's absolutely incredible. There you go. Left that part out. We eat ourselves into diabetes, eat ourselves into hypertension. The burdock root, while it won't hurt you at all, I don't hate herbs, but we have to stay focused on what the actual issue is, okay? Does your doctor know any of this? That's the problem. Let them know. This is this is one of the issues I face a lot, They come in, they make decisions on their own about what they want to do with their medications, and it puts us at a bit of a disadvantage as we're trying to take care of you, because we only want to take care of you. That's my goal anyway. I only want to take care of my patients, so if you let me know what's going on, we can be partnered through this thing. And these days, it's a partnership, and we are healthcare advisors. Maybe some people in the room old enough to know who Marcus Welby was back in the day. That was a dictatorship. He shows up with a black bag. He gives you a pill. You ask no questions. He leaves. It's over. Now it's, what's that medicine going to do to me? Why do I need to take that medication? Well, I saw this on social media. Is this true? Is that true? There's a lot of unfiltered information out there, and it's very compelling. If someone comes on your feed and say, hey, look, you can stop all your medications. Just take this. And they direct you to a video, and this guy's talking about this thing over and over and over again. At the very end of it, Just pay this much for this pill. So eat healthy. That's the most important thing you can do. I'm not an advocate of medicines all the time, but we have to be realistic about the situation. That's all. Okay? You did a good job of changing your diet. I commend you for that. Yes. Walking, treadmill. For men over 40, they do recommend more resistance training. It doesn't have to be heavy weights, but resistance, that increases your natural testosterone production. For men over 40, that's a good way to do it too. So you can have like short rest intervals and mostly aerobic, some resistance. It's probably the best way to go. Don't forget stretching and flexibility. That's a part of fitness. Okay? Yes, sir. Can't do it. Right. The digital rectal exam, I got you. I just don't talk that way around my patients. Let's keep it a certain way so we all can be, Yep. Good. 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 Gotcha. Right. Right. Okay. You're doing good things, brother. You're doing good things, man. Okay. I don't have much of a take on those items up. Who's got those? Okay. All right, well, I don't have a strong opinion on that, only because it's not regulated by the FDA, anything that I'm beholden to necessarily. But also, unless you know the actual ingredients in that, it's hard to know. When we look at supplements, we see news of that, there's an immediate trust to that. I hear it. But there's an opposite effect when it comes to pharmaceuticals. I get it, because pharmaceuticals, they got a bad rep. I get it. They're also heavily regulated, unlike some of the substances, herbal things, and things like that on the market. I will tell you this about vitamins in general. This is my take on vitamins, okay? multivitamins, vitamin this, vitamin that, A, B, C, D vitamins. When you take a vitamin, it follows the first past physiology. You take it, your body consumes all it needs from it, it processes it, and gets rid of it. The rest of the vitamin goes out in the toilet. Okay? You take it, your body processes it, gets what it needs from it, and gets rid of the rest. So if you're looking at a vitamin, and I always recommend looking at the bottle and see how much of what is in it. It'll tell you there's like 100% of this in it, 5,000% of this in it, and that's percent of the daily recommended allowance. So already you know that you're going to excrete most of that. Already. So most of the vitamins going right in the toilet. So they have a good reputation. They won't necessarily hurt you, but it's still a pill you're taking. And there's something called pill burden. If lots of pills are going in your stomach, whether they're prescribed or not, it'll have an impact on your stomach. So I limit it to one general multivitamin, generic, not super ramped up, because the high ones, all they're going to wind up doing is going out in your urine. So look at the labels. They'll say this one has 80% of the daily recommended allowance of B or C. It's got 1,000% of that, 500% of that. That 1,000 to 500, that's going into your toilet almost immediately. And take them in the morning before you eat, because if you take it after you eat, guess what? Even less your body's going to need. So as far as the other stuff is concerned, it's like eat healthy. The best supplement you can take is actually good food. It works all parts of your digestive system. Supplements and things like that, they bypass a lot of your digestive system, goes right to your stomach, and you wind up looking like what it comes out of your stomach looking like after it's been digested. Real food still wins. Vegetables, fruit, lean cuts of meat, yeah, water. Yeah. Yeah. Stage one, yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I don't have the percentages, but it does play a significant amount of role. When your body is stressed, whether it's physically or metabolically, when you have high blood sugar, your body has to turn that around rapidly. Your sugar's was in the 600 range. Your body has to process all that sugar. And the main organ that does that is your liver. So that your body has to move all that sugar into your liver for processing. And when it gets broken down from a chemical standpoint, acids are produced, something called lactic acid is produced, and all that stuff creates a metabolic stress on your body. Not that you feel stressed, but this is just one aspect. It creates a metabolic stress, and that can make your body feel bad with energy and that sort of thing. If you're just stressed in general, yes, you're going to increase cortisol. That's going to increase sugar, because when you're stressed, that's a kind of a take on the flight or fight phenomenon. If you're stressed, your body's going to need energy to do what it's got to do to escape or fight, so it's going to make your sugar go up, and then your blood vessels will be crunched down so your blood pressure can go up. So there's a relationship between the two. But if your sugar is high, you're not going to feel right until it gets back down into the normal range. When it's really high, you may be going to the bathroom a lot. Your energy is going to be bad. You're going to be urinating a lot. You're going to be thirsty a lot. Your body's trying to dilute all of that sugar. And while that's happening, you're flushing fluid into your body, and your sodium goes down, and that causes other stuff. So there's a lot of metabolic things going on that your doctor's got to be closely monitoring you and making tweaks to your treatment until you get to the point where you're feeling better. You were just in the ER? Yeah. You need some close follow-up.
So, Doc, you just touched on something very important. At least I believe it's important.
Mhm.
Can you touch on the importance of mental health and wellness?
Oh, man. Yeah. That's a big one right there. There's a thing called white coat hypertension. That's a thing. You walk in and your systolic pressure is high. But mental health, I can't emphasize the importance of it. We say mental health, like what does that mean? You know, we want to make sure we're in a good emotional state, that we're focusing on things and worrying only about stuff that we have control over. If you don't have control over it, it's not fruitful for you to worry about it. It's like banging your head against a wall. So if you're faced with a situation and you know for sure you can't control that situation, you have a couple things you can do. You can remove yourself from that situation, which I highly recommend for your own sanity. You don't have to stay and fight. Why? That's not helping you. That's not helping anybody. All it's doing is creating bad energy, and that's going to create stress in your body, lead to high blood pressure, heart attack, stroke. It's a cascade. So, I try to tend to be a person who can find a solution for every problem versus a problem for every solution. Just try to work that to your advantage if you can. Don't worry about stuff that doesn't affect you, okay? What's happening in D.C., I ain't worrying about that. I'm not. I can't control that. Why worry about that? I'm focused on what the task is. My family, my brothers. Yeah, that's it.
You know, getting back on what you just said, that's why the Bible says take no thoughts for tomorrow. If we learn to pray and take no thoughts for tomorrow, that will eliminate the stress that you're speaking of. Too many of us are praying and still stressing. And if we're going to pray, then stress should come down. If you're not going to pray, then your stress going to go up. So that word of God says take no thoughts for tomorrow. Literally, that means what it says.
Absolutely.
It will hell itself. And that goes back to the biblical principles that were spoken of with the finance. It's also the same with the health.
Yes.
If we eat right, we don't have to worry about these things. If we exercise right, if we take care of the temple and not see the temple as a sex machine, we'll be okay.
That's right. That's right.
That's
That's
all
right.
in the Word of God.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. Only allow good and clean things into here and here. That's it. If it's not good and clean, let it go. I do think I'm done right now, though.